How's it going? I'm Ryan, and today I'm going to go over the two trades that I took. One on QQQ, one on SPY. First trade of the day was puts on QQQ. That happened to be a loser. Second trade of the day was puts on SPY. That happened to be a winner. Overall, we had a massive green day, massive uptrend day. So you might be wondering why I took puts. We'll dive into that in just a second. Before we get into that, we're looking at SPY on the daily time frame. From last week, we had a bit of a sell-off. We came down into this area of support that we had found a bottom before, and it looks like we have absolutely ripped out of that area, heading higher. So not all too far from 52-week high here. We'll see if we approach it. I won't go into all the levels right now. It's a little messy. I need to clean up my charts, but we can take a look here at the hourly and some of the levels I was watching. So this 468.38 was the level I was watching. 469.25 was the level I was watching. Then we have yesterday's high and a level right around that, around 470.5. Some of these up here, obviously we reached these levels. That was later in the day. So those didn't really come into play with how I traded. Well, first, I guess my first trade was actually on QQQ. So let's take a look at QQQ and let's get into it. The very first trade that I took on QQQ was puts. And the area that I was looking at was this right here. So the past 2 days, well, trading days, last Thursday and Friday, we had rejected off the same area right in there. So we had come up into the zone, pretty much set the high a day, and had a pretty big rejection both of those days. As we were approaching this level, I had set an alert for QQQ to let me know when we were getting up into this range. And once we did, I tried puts, which, if you see, obviously did not work out. We came up into this level. I took puts on this candle. I probably should have waited for this candle to close. We were showing a lot of strength. But I was looking at the 2-minute, which I'll pull this open. And this is kind of why I entered, was this candle right here and then this subsequent candle there. So we'd come up into this zone, kind of right at the top of that zone, form this this typical reversal candle on high volume, making a long wick, small body, closing pretty much right where we opened. And that, to me, once I started to see this candle start printing, we opened up red. Looked like we were selling off. I entered a put here. As we pushed up, I entered a second position. So I averaged down a little bit. And my stop was if we broke out of this range convincingly. So I took this trade probably a little preemptively, a little too early. We were still looking really strong. I really just based it off these two-minute candles here. So that was my first trade of the day. Took a loss. I trimmed somewhere up in here. It was about a 15% loss. Or trimmed, I stopped out. Once we broke out, we were looking pretty strong. I got out. I didn't want to wait. What would have been a really good trade was to take calls right here. But I did not stick around to watch. But breaking above this zone and then forming this flag, holding above it, it would have been a really nice play to take calls here and look for that move upwards. So that was a better trade. I think this first trade of the day, I was leaning a little put bias, and I think that's because the past week or so we had been in a downtrend. We were approaching this level that we had rejected off of 2 days in a row. So that was my rationale for that trade. Probably got in a little early, however, but I did cut my loss and move on from there, taking not too much of a loss there. Now we can get into SPY. So after taking that loss there on SPY, on QQQ, I came over to SPY, and SPY was looking a little weaker. So you can see in the morning, QQQ is pretty much straight up. SPY, however, we had come up to this level I had around 469.26, and had rejected off of it previously. We were coming up to approach it. So after I got stopped out on QQQ, I switched back over to SPY. And we were right around here, right around 745. I had seen that we had got a nice rejection off of this level. We did hold the pre-market high though, so still in an uptrend, still setting higher lows. but I was watching this for a potential rejection here. I waited. Once we got this 5-minute candle close here, rejecting, trying to push higher, setting a high a day, but ultimately getting pushed back down and failing to close above this 469.26 level. I did enter puts on this candle here, so we'll take a look at the 2-minute. So I was entering puts in here. We had already come up, we had rejected on high volume, so volume being pretty high on the rejection, on this push back up to this level, volume declining, so higher selling volume than buying volume. We were kind of bouncing around, failing to close above. We had 3 consecutive 5-minute candles, all fail to close above this level. So we'll take a look at that real quick. I just had it up, but 3 consecutive 5-minute candles testing this level and failing to close above it. So I took puts on one of these candles. I entered, so I had a fill pretty much right at the top. I took 3 contracts. That's bigger than I usually size up. My first trade of the day was 2 contracts. Usually I trade 1 to 2 contracts. Since I had that initial loss, I felt good about this trade, and I averaged in 1 contract at a time until I had a total of 3. When we got this big move down, once we got down to the pre-market low, or excuse me, the pre-market high, that was an area that we had held on the 5-minute chart and kind of reversed from there. So I trimmed 2 of my contracts here. I left 1 contract as a runner, and this we had a pretty big spike down. And once we spiked down into this area on the 5-minute chart, we also had that 9 EMA kind of down here that we were holding. So it spiked down to the 9 EMA, also to this area that we had bounced from earlier, and I trimmed my final position here. So 2 trimmed here, runner trimmed here. From the top around 469.26 to 468.6 or so. Decent little move, nothing insane. But the contracts on these big pops, as you can see, this candle caused premiums to jump a bit, and then once this dropped, that caused premiums to jump a bit. So overall, the return was pretty nice, and that ended up being my second and last trade of the day, ultimately ending up positive overall. So kind of wish I didn't take that first trade. It was a bit sloppy. I don't normally trade QQQ. I'm trying to watch it and set alerts at key levels and try to pay attention and understand, be able to expand a little bit and trade another ticker other than just SPY to give me a bit more opportunity. However, I think today I just got a little trigger happy. I got a little excited and took a trade a little earlier than I should have. Luckily, I was able to make it back here. But the real thing that I want to talk about is what a day this was. And honestly, I probably shouldn't have been playing puts at all on a day like today. We did get that rejection here. If you see like I said, the 3 consecutive, 4 if you count this one, but I was already in the trade at this time. 3 consecutive 5-minute candles rejecting off this level. I thought we might get a pullback. So regardless, though, we kind of ripped. I left the screen around 8:30, so somewhere in here, I was out. One trade that I was curious about was a retest of this previous high a day. So this area that we were rejecting off of in here, this retest here, I was talking about entering calls. I did not. I probably should have on this candle here, because that was, according to my entry, this would have been the best entry I probably could have had for that trade. But when you have a zone like this that you're struggling to break, and you do break through it and you come back and retest it, that's an excellent trade to take for continued move in that direction. So I did not take this trade. I think after having a loser, winning a second trade and being positive on the day, I think I was going to be a little safe. I did think about taking this trade with a single contract, just small position. However, I did not take it. 2020 hindsight, though, that moved back up to yesterday's high a day. Really beautiful. Yeah, that would have been a much better move than this quick little scalp that I got here. And it would have been in line with the trend. So kind of traded counter to the trend. The first time it burnt me, second time it worked out. But the real moves, the real money was to be made in trading the trend here. You can see we never had much of a pullback. We had slight pullbacks and just continuation of that move up. So overall execution today, I would give myself maybe a C. That first trade wasn't great. Second trade was a little better. I treated it more as a scalp than trying to hold for some massive move. Overall, the market was looking pretty bullish today, so I didn't want to try to hold on to those puts, especially when the contracts moved as they did. And we were approaching the 9 EMA and a place that we had previously bounced and recovered from. So yeah, not the greatest trades. We do end up green. Second trade was better than first. Like I said, I would have liked to take long positions and trade with the trend. A break and retest of the previous high is a trade that I will take all the time if it's there for me. I don't really have a great explanation as to why they took this. Maybe I just wasn't paying close enough attention. But yeah, that's how I traded the day. Glad to end up green, especially when taking puts on a day as insane as this. That's all I have for you. I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much. I do trade live Monday through Friday, so I'll be here through the rest of the week. If you want to stop by, hang out, please do. We'd love to have you. Yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace out.